Hello, I'm Joe, and in this video we're going to be going over the rotate tools within Deswik CAD. The four tools are Rotate Interactive, Rotate Absolute, Rotate Relative, and Rotate 3D. The first two we're going to talk about is Rotate Absolute and Rotate Relative. They're very similar, but we have to discuss those terms. So for this example, let's say my arrow is facing west, which is 270 degrees. And I say, let's rotate relative 45 degrees. It's going to go from where it's at and add 45 degrees and go to 315 degrees. Now, on contrast, if I say rotate absolute 45 degrees, it's going to just go to the 45 degree mark. Doesn't matter where I start. If you say rotate absolute to 45 degrees, it's just going to go to that 45 degrees. If you say rotate relative, it's going to rotate it from where you are starting plus 45 degrees. Okay, first we are going to do the rotate relative. All of the rotate commands are in Modify, Rotate, right here. Rotate Interactive, Rotate Relative, Rotate Absolute, and Rotate 3D. So Rotate Interactive is a quick, easy tool to do it something quickly. So when you click on it, there's a pop-up window down here. Select entities to rotate. I'm going to select this big red arrow that I have, and then I'm going to right-click. And then the next pop-up window says, select center of rotation. I'm going to pick the center of our compass or the center of the fishing reel. And then it says rotate. And you just swing it around to where you want it, and then it rotates. So it's quick and easy, nice, easy tool. So now let's talk about rotate relative and absolute. First, we're going to do rotate relative. So again, it's relative to where you start. We're going to rotate this 45 degrees. So you can either select on it at the beginning or not. It doesn't matter. So again, modify, rotate, relative. Select the entities right here. Right click. Center of rotation. Right there in the center. And then select the base point. I'm going to pick out here. And then from here, it's going to measure how far we want to rotate. I could just say click right here and rotate, but if you'll notice down here, it says select point to rotate or type value. So if you look at this command line right here, I'm just going to type in 45. And it shows up right there. Just type in 45, hit enter, and it rotates relative to where we started. So we started right here, we went 45. Now, let's see if we do the same command, but we're gonna rotate absolute. Rotate absolute, center of rotation, right there in the middle, your base point right here, and now I'm gonna type in 45. Right down here, same spot, hit enter, and you'll see that went right to the 45. It's just like our fishing reel. This is 0, this is 45, this is 90, and so on. So that's the difference between rotate relative and rotate absolute. And one more thing, if you just go modify, rotate relative, click your center of rotation, click your base point, and you can just pick a different point you want to rotate it to, and it will just rotate there. And absolute and relative will do the exact same thing when you're doing this, but when you're typing in the value, it does it according to whether you're relative or absolute. Now let's talk about rotate 3D. I'm going to still use this fishing reel to explain it. Instead of having a nice flat plane with north, south, east, and west, with rotate 3D we got to think about it in 3 dimensions. And in this fishing reel, there is an axis right here in the middle. I'm going to kind of show it to you, but you have to point out in Deswik, it's going to ask you to draw this axis. So you have to first click on this point on this side, then you have to click on this point on the other side, and then punch in a number, and it's going to rotate along that axis. So you could draw it this way, you could draw it this way, you could draw it that way, and you're just going to rotate it along this axis. The important part is that you define where this axis is with 2 different points. Okay, now let's talk about Rotate 3D. We go to Modify, Rotate, Rotate 3D. First, it's going to ask you to select the entities right here. So I'm going to pick our red arrow, right click, access first point. So just like on this fishing reel, we have to define where this axis is. You have to pick 2 points to define where the axis is, and then it's going to rotate along that axis. So kind of how I'm looking at it, it's kind of like this. So my first point, I'm going to pick the center. The second point, I'm going to pick out here. So this green line is going to be my axis. And I'm going to just rotate this a little bit before we begin, so you can kind of see. I've got the compass and I'm rotating it around, and I drew these yellow or orange lines to go up and down so you can kind of see. So let's start that again. Modify, rotate, rotate 3D, select your entities, right click, and then select access first point. So I'm going to pick the center, and then I'm going to pick out here. So this green line is going to be my axis on the fishing reel. And then from here, you just type in the command line 90 degrees. I'm going to type in 90. It's going to bring it straight up, just like that. And this is relative. So if we want to do it again, same command, modify, rotate, rotate 3D, and you're going to pick your axis, and let's say 180. That means it's going to flip it all the way up and back. I hit enter. See, it rotated it along this axis all the way around. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something new in Deswik today. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing. If there's something in particular that you want to see on the next video, please comment down below. Thanks.